Hi, I haven't done a YouTube video for a while, so welcome back. We're going to dive straight in. I had some leftover Mother's Day flowers from last week. Last week it was UK Mother's Day, and they're far too beautiful to throw away. So I wanted to show you today how I'm going to make a bouquet with them. And it's going to be a bridal style bouquet, so quite compact, lots of flower, not lots of greenery. It's all about the blooms and making sure they are shining and looking fabulous. We've got still some of my favourites. Lilac, yum. This is the white variety, or syringa. Really beautiful. These are massive. I mean, huge, huge stems, but we're going to be cutting them down. We've got some campanula, a little bit of clematis, some roses. These are sweet avalanche, but we've also got some cool water here as well. We've got a little bit of eustoma, some ranunculus, and you might just be able to see in the corner of the camera some quite open anemones, but oh my goodness, they are just looking so good. I had to use them. So if you want to reflex your roses, you need to get roses in that are a few days old, because the petals are a bit more malleable, a bit more pliable. And you just go around the edge of the petals, and just near the base, you're just going to press in on the outside and fold them back on themselves. Now, not everyone's a fan of this look, but I think it can be quite effective when you're doing quite a flower heavy bouquet and you've got some roses that you want to look a bit more kind of gardeny, a bit more open, because this is how roses go in the garden. They fold back on themselves to give you a slightly more kind of yielding look, I suppose. And you just work your way around, just gently pressing them back, manipulating them, and they kind of just, there's almost like pop back on themselves. And you can do the whole rose, but I think sometimes you just want to do a few petals and leave the center a little bit more solid. Sometimes if a rose petal rips, you can just kind of pull it off a little bit. And what I'm doing nearer the center is I'm not folding them all the way back. I'm just kind of slightly bending them to give a slightly more blousy appearance. So it's gone from a rose like this to a rose like this. I'm now going to start threading these into my bouquet. And as I said before, I want to have some that are really kind of down here in the middle of my bouquet. So it's really creating that full blousy effect. And I don't want to kind of squash them right in. I want to keep quite a lot of movement in this bouquet so that it feels a bit more dainty. It's a bit more spring-like and not too dense, I suppose is the right word. And I'm just going to start threading. I might put one a little bit higher up because I want to have colour going all the way through my flowers. Oh my goodness, that one there looks fabulous. So let's put him in there, definitely. And then I'm going to go in with my cool water. I'm going to put in here, probably. Just checking my positioning in my mirror. And actually this one in the top, this sweet avalanche, isn't quite sitting where I want it to. So I'm just going to hold it with my finger to make sure it stays exactly where I want it to go. And I'm going to almost recess a cool water one straight in the middle here, because I think I need some depth of colour right at that centre point that's almost quite a focal moment in the bouquet. And it might be that we could use some of the eustoma, and the eustoma you can also reflex as well. I don't like these kind of yellowy buds, and I don't think they're kind of going to go with my colourway, so I'm going to take those off and just use the eustoma on its own. And I'm going to pop a piece in here. so that I've got some colour, that more cool watercolour at the base. You can see actually tonally they're pretty much the same colour, so that's going to work really, really well to have that deeper tone. And then if you look on this side of the bouquet, it's all very light and fluffy, so I'm thinking I'm probably going to need to put a little bit of that eustoma through here as well, so that I'm just pulling that colour all the way through the bouquet. Now actually, if you were having some bridesmaids, you could almost leave the bouquet at that stage, maybe have a twirly bit in there or something, but because I want to make something a bit bigger, I'm going to keep on going, and I really want to use those anemones, so I want to carry on adding in a little bit more colour. And then let's go in with some of our anemones. And as I said, these are old. You can see how much they've bloused open. But for what we're doing here, they're just going to add in such an amazing focus to the display. And I almost think that that cool water rose is going to move a little bit. This one here. I almost want her to sit kind of coming forward a bit more. Oh, do you see the difference? Like this before. We can get her to sit in there. It's just, that's it. The difference, making it more three-dimensional, making it stand out, making a really beautiful bouquet. Here we go. Oh my goodness, these are just absolutely incredible. So I want to keep them quite dancey, and I've got to remember both sides. So I think almost having a duo of these anemones in just here, you can see there's a hole hopefully where the lilac is, that's a bit kind of needs a bit of something in it. Right, that clematis leaf is pressing against that rose a little bit, so I'm probably going to end up moving him. And we do little tweaks at the end as well, and I think having something in here to break up those two big roses is going to be key. So let's just have a look at the white. These are quite dainty ranunculus, so it might be that we just, oh yeah, look, just pop a couple in to give a little bit of bounce and a little bit of movement to our bouquet. So let's just tuck a few of those in. I don't want to overwork it, as I said, but just to have a few really wiggly bits coming through and taking your time kind of placing them is really the key. And almost just kind of maybe two kind of darting through here so that bit doesn't, no, that's too much, doesn't get too solid. Maybe just one, maybe just an anemone in there. It's really tucked in though. Oh yeah, that's looking better. Now I'm going to cut off this little clematis leaf because it's kind of hiding everything. I'm going to try and pull that clematis flower up a tiny bit. So now we're into the what I call the tweakments of making a bouquet, and it's really just looking at the bouquet, checking that it's balanced. You see this side's got a bit unruly now actually, so I might just, it almost just needs something in here. It's just like a bit of a hole there, so maybe if we turned this rose, this spray rose, or moved him a bit higher up, that might give the look that we need. Almost kind of just joining that campanula a bit more, that's a little bit better there. And then maybe just taking out, although we had the duo of anemones there, I think that's just a little bit heavy on that colour. So let's pull there. That's a lot better. Do you see? So when you're making bouquets, you can hear me chattering away to myself. It is about looking. Once something's in place, it doesn't have to stay there. You can move it. You can move it about a little bit so that you can get your bouquet looking exactly the way that you want it to. I'm going to nip and get some jasmine foliage. I'm going to add it in, and then I'm going to show you the final result. And there we have it, a lovely spring inspired bridal bouquet. I'm going to tie this off now just with some wire twine. So I quite like this twine because it means with the spring stems, when you've got something a bit more delicate, you don't have to pull it really tightly. You can almost just twist the two ends together and that produces the knot, and it always stays really, really firm and doesn't move about too much. And I'm going to just tie it with some silk ribbon. So I've got some hand dyed silk ribbon, which is really beautiful. I can't remember where I bought it now. It's quite an old one, a long time ago. But it's so, so gorgeous. And I just think if you're doing a bouquet, you should tie off with a ribbon. I'm just going to trim all the stems down. So you can obviously pop this in a vase, but I've made it so it's more of a bridal bouquet. The lilac stems are very, very, very hard to cut. Oh my gosh, I love it. Look at all that movement. The jasmine's just given it that extra. And I've got my silk ribbon here, which is a beautiful soft colour, and I think it's just going to look fabulous. So let's get it tied up. And to tie with the silk, I like to do, this is a long piece rather than cut up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half, I think, like this. Gosh, it's very long. Here we go. And then I'm going to just leave a small tail, and I'm going to wrap around. Now you can decide where you want the front of your bouquet with the ribbon drops. I think here feels like my front because it's just got a bit more going on. That's still really beautiful, but I think that side to me is saying front. And then we're going to pull the loop round. We should just be able to kind of pull it tight. Let's go around. And then we can do a bow at the front. Let's separate those off. And we can tie our bow. Now to do that, I just like to rest my knee up a little bit because I'm going to just gently lay this down slightly. I want to make sure it's really not pressing on the table too much. And there we go. Beautiful. I hope you agree it's beautiful. Beautiful spring bridal bouquet with a hand-dyed silk ribbon drop.